I don't need to. You can raise it and put it here. All right. See this, something is rubbing against something, right? I'm okay? Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good evening and welcome back to the third and final session of this, the theme of this discussion of the Bhagavad Gita is Supreme Empowerment. My pranams to revered Swami Sarvapriyananda ji Maharaj. Namaskars to the authorities of the Gita Jayanti, the Hindu Endowment Board, and also the temple authorities who have graciously hosted us for these last 3 days or so. What is enlightenment? One perspective is this, that there are two aspects to enlightenment. There are two ways of understanding enlightenment. One is what I can call a paradigm shift, and the second one is what we can call an ethical manifestation. So what is this paradigm shift and what is this ethical manifestation? One way of understanding enlightenment is this understanding that the shift from I am this person, this body, mind, this Sarvapriyananda to I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This shift of precisely what? What does I refer to? The I refers to, in general, for all of us, basically it refers to this body, mind, this person. I am this person. If there's a shift in our understanding, if there's a shift in our experience of this I from body, mind to Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, this witness consciousness that we are talking about. How do I know that the shift has happened? We talked about the 5 characteristics of our real nature on the first day. That it is eternal, that it is not an object, that it is one, that it is all-pervasive, that it is the reality of which the entire universe is a display. Which is just the opposite of what we think of ourselves just now. What is our paradigm of ourselves right now? We are not eternal. We are born and we will die. And this is objective. This is something that is clearly visible, experienceable. And we are not one. We are all different. We are hundreds, millions, billions. And we are certainly not all pervasive. We are very limited, very small, here only. And I don't know if I am real or not, the world seems very real. So this is our general belief of ourselves, our general experience of ourselves as a jiva, as a limited being. And Vedanta tells us something dramatically opposite. Nitya, eternal, aprameya, not an object of the instruments of knowledge. Ekaha, one consciousness. Sarvagataha, all pervasive. And Satya, the reality. So if we undergo that paradigm shift, it suddenly dawns upon us, it becomes clear to us that I am Brahman. We should feel these things. These 5 characteristics and many other ways of describing it, it should become real for us, not theoretical, not something rhetorical. So this is called paradigm shift. Before enlightenment, when I say I, it's an ego, and it refers to this body, mind. After enlightenment, the I will not refer to body, mind, it will point back, there's a technicality involved here, it will point back to our real nature as Brahman, as the limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. That's enlightenment. If someone has undergone that, it has happened to you, then you are enlightened. But there is another side of enlightenment, which one might call ethical manifestation. When somebody is spiritually advanced or enlightened person, you would expect some, what one might call saintly qualities in that person. You expect an enlightened person to be full of love, impersonal love for all beings, impartial love and for one and all. You would expect that person to be self-controlled. You would expect that person to be selfless. You would expect that person to have deep compassion for all beings, to be fearless, to have no problems or no complaints about oneself. I often say, if you're enlightened, you lose the right to grumble. You lose the right to complain. So you would expect the manifestation of these saintly qualities, spiritual qualities in an enlightened being. So I call that or you can call it the ethical manifestation model of enlightenment. Now, why am I saying this? This supreme empowerment, this sthita pragya which Krishna is talking about, the sage of stabilized wisdom, this jivan mukti, which is the goal of Vedanta, all of these, they are basically a combination of the paradigm shift and the ethical manifestation. They are a combination, they are a combination of this ethical manifestation and the paradigm shift. Yeah, kids. Only one kid can talk here right now, so I'm the one who's allowed to talk here. So Jivan Mukti, it means not only the realization that I am Brahman, but also living accordingly. You might say, why will that not come automatically? No. It has to be preceded by ethical cultivation for a long period of time before coming to that fruition, before coming to enlightenment, and then it will manifest in life after that. So this question, the same question which we started with, that I understand it, I have a good grasp on it, but I am unable to translate into my day-to-day life. So that ethical manifestation is not happening. Without that, you cannot say a person is Jivan Mukta. Without that, you cannot say a person is Sthita Pragya, a person of stabilized wisdom. So what Sri Krishna does here, in the end of the second chapter, the beautiful verses which were chanted just now, what he does here is, he gives us some advanced practices for cultivation. If you think that you already have a good grasp on Vedanta, you already have a good sense of what Vedanta is trying to tell us, then it's good to practice these things. It's good to live like this, what's being said. Try to live it, you will find it's difficult, it's not easy. You will run up against obstacles. So what are the things he has given us? In the form of describing a Jivan Mukta, in the form of describing a Sthita Pragya. He is giving us these hints. How do you manifest your realization? How do you manifest your knowledge? Even if you claim, I have not yet become enlightened, I've got an understanding of Vedanta, but I'm not yet a Brahmagyani. Even then, if you practice these things, if we practice these things from right now, our ethical manifestation will be much easier. Jivan Mukti will come much more easily then. What are these? I have just taken up the first 3 verses of what Krishna tells Arjuna. The first one was, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushta sthita pragyastaduchyate. That's the one we looked at yesterday. The first practice is the ability to, or the effort to remain centered in your nature as the witness consciousness. First of all, that requires clarity. Without clarity, there is no question of doing this. In one word, you may call it samadhi, deep meditation, absorption in our real nature. That is a characteristic of Jivan Mukta. You cannot say that I realize I am Brahman, but my mind is so restless, I can't put it on my real self, I can't remain absorbed. Then it's just a restless guy who might have read a few books. but you are not an enlightened person. So the ability to remain absorbed. Does the Jivan Mukta need it? Does not need it. There's a very interesting discussion between Sri Ramakrishna and his Advaita Guru, Totapuri. Totapuri would daily sit in meditation and go into Samadhi, daily. And so Sri Ramakrishna asked him, you have realized you are Brahman. So why do you need to meditate anymore? Why do we meditate? Why do we study? Why do we come to these classes? Why do we pray? Why do we worship? In order to become enlightened. In order to realize that we get moksha, the highest goal. But you have already got it. Then why are you meditating anymore? And then Totapuri answers, this matches what Krishna is teaching Arjuna. Totapuri answers that, see, here is a sannyasi, he had a brass water pot. Unless I polish it daily, it will lose its shine. It will lose its shine. So daily I have to immerse myself in my real nature as Brahman for a while. And then come back and take a look at this world. One sadhu put it nicely. दिन में कम से कम एक बार तो देख लो वस्तु कैसी है. At least once in a day, sit in deep meditation and take a look at the reality. What reality? You. Take a look at yourself. So heights of narcissism. Huh? Take a look at yourself, not as this person, as that impersonal reality which you are. Then your living life will be accordingly, it will flow easily for you. So this is the first one. And we discussed some details about it yesterday. But then there are two more practices, advanced practices, is going to tell us. Basically what Krishna is telling us and the takeaway from this entire 3 days retreat on Supreme Empowerment. I'll put it to you briefly in a nutshell. Remain centered in your nature as Brahman, one. At the level of mind, remain serene and undisturbed, or at least try to do that. At the level of interaction with the world, remain detached. Asanga. 3 words. I'm just quoting how I heard one sadhu summarizing it. Bodh mein ekatva, चित्त में समत्व, व्यवहार में असंगत्व. Let me translate. Bodh में ekatva. In your consciousness that I am this one limitless consciousness. Not just one. You can also add the other characteristics which I mentioned. Nitya, aprameya, ekaha, sarvagata, satya, eternal, not an object of the instruments of knowledge. One consciousness, all pervasive, and the one reality. So remain centered in that. That is one. Bodh mein ekatva. Then second, chitta mein samatva, which we will see today. Serenity at the level of mind, serenity. And at the level of our interaction with the world, because life is still there. As long as you are, the prarabdha will is there, your past karma is there, this body will continue, even if you're enlightened. Even if you're enlightened. The body will continue until a certain time. So you have your life here in this world, and that's good. Enlightenment shouldn't mean death. That will be the most unattractive proposition. You'll keep calling the ambulance. What happened? Another one enlightened, gone. No. Enlightenment means life, and a wonderful life. Best form of life living is the living while free, Jivan Mukta. It's a wonderful life. Serenity at the level of the mind, chitta mein samatva, and vyavahar at the level of interaction, detachment, asanga. What are the practices to remain centered in your nature as Brahman? Practices, samadhi. One word, I'm telling you in one word. First verse, one word. If you summarize, what is Krishna asking Arjuna to do? Samadhi. Again, keep in mind the 2 varieties of samadhi I mentioned, with eyes closed and eyes open. What were the terms? Nirodha samadhi and Badha samadhi. Do you remember? Badha samadhi. Anyway, these are technicalities. So, samadhi. Second verse is telling us one more thing to practice. In order to have serenity of mind, what is required? What is that quality which has to be generated? It is called vairagya, dispassion. We will see today. And third one, asangatva, this detachment in action. There, the control of the senses is necessary. Indriya nigraha. And the rest of the verses which we just chanted is all Indriya nigraha, control of the senses. All of it. Very interesting. When Krishna answers Arjuna, Arjuna's question was, please describe an enlightened person. Please describe the one whose enlightenment is stable. Final enlightenment, stable. Sthita pragya, jivan mukta, describe. And when Krishna describes it, most of the verses, apart from the ones which we are talking about today, after this, rest of it, it's all control of the senses. Indriya nigraha, you will see. You will just see the verses, it's all control of the senses. How interesting, because we are studying Advaita Vedanta. You will think Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Samadhi, all these things he'll talk about. No, Indriya Nigraha, again and again and again. And very interesting, Swami Vivekananda, there's a short essay in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. An American disciple had asked him, please write down the basic, the central ideas of the 4 yogas. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana, Raja Yoga. And it's a very nice thing. The 4 yogas, it's his own written reply. Because it's Swami Vivekananda, it's full of unique insights. About Jnana Yoga, he mentions that this is the direct path. However, he says, in this path, many understand, few realize. Many come to an understanding. Don't mistake understanding for realization. Many understand, few realize. Then how will I translate understanding into realization? Swami Vivekananda explains. It consists chiefly in the control of the senses. See how it matches. What Sri Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita thousands of years ago. To become fully enlightened, the foundational practice is control of the senses. Vivekananda summarizes the path of enlightenment in Jnana Yoga, Advaita Vedanta. It consists chiefly in the control of the senses. All right. So we'll set that aside, keep that in the background of our minds. Now today's subject is the next 2 verses. First one we have done yesterday. The next 2 verses for this Sthita Pragya, Jivan Mukti, or the synthesis of paradigm shift and ethical manifestation. What is the verse? Dukkheshu anudvigna mana, sukheshu vigata spriya, Vitaraga bhaya krodha sthita dhimuni ruchyate. Just remember, time, important. All right. What does this verse mean? Not disturbed in the middle of suffering. Not disturbed by dukkha. To whom are we talking about? Enlightened one. Dukkheshu anudvigna mana. Udvigna, disturbed, upset. Upset, but not upset in the midst of suffering. When things don't go our way, things are not at all according to my liking, but still I am not upset. I am serene. Let's stop here and take a look. The first thing that should strike us is dukkheshu, in the middle of suffering. But we should ask a question here. What was the whole purpose of this exercise? Transcendence of suffering, going beyond suffering. What did you promise when I came to Vedanta, Yoga, when I came there? Dukkha nivritti. You're going beyond suffering. And now you're saying, after enlightenment, Jivan Mukta, in the middle of suffering? In the middle of suffering? Which means after enlightenment also, after you have become a fully enlightened person, suffering will continue. Then what's the use? I'm already suffering. So what new thing will I get? So what does enlightenment do? What does spirituality do? The same question was asked by a follower of the Buddha, a monk, to the Buddha himself. This is from the original sources. It's actually an actual story from Buddha's life. This monk, Bhikshu, asked the Buddha, Master, I have a question. What is the question? You said the problem is dukkha. And there is a solution to dukkha, nirvana. And you have found it. So you have gone beyond dukkha, yes. And you have taught it to us. And so we are following it. We are trying to go beyond dukkha. And dukkha, you told us. What is dukkha? I mean the big ones, the biggies. Dukkha is many types, 1,000 types of dukkha are there. But the biggies is what the Buddha himself, when he was a prince, what did he see? The three sights which he saw, which the three kinds of sorrow: jara, mrityu, vyadhi, old age, disease, death. Suffering is of many, many types, but these are the three biggies, big ones. Even not finding parking is also a suffering. No, you will not know here. In Singapore, everything is so well organized. When we are entering the temple, it is said 5 spots are left or 6 spots are left. How nice. In Manhattan, where our center is, you can never find any parking. Never. It's a burden to have a car there. It's a burden. So it's a suffering, big suffering in Manhattan. Many people say, we cannot come to your ashram for one reason only, no parking. All right. So that is suffering, old age, disease, death. And this Buddha asked, so what is your question? The question is, we are following your teachings, but we are also becoming old. We are also getting disease. Some of us have died. I guess we will all die very soon. And most of all, you are the enlightened one. You are the Buddha. You are getting old. Disease is coming to you. And sadly, one day you will die. Then how did you overcome suffering? Suffering is old age, disease, death. It's not meant to be insulting. Many elderly people are there. I'm all well on my way to becoming old. But it is true. Old age is suffering. The young people will not realize. What is effortless at the age of 21? Someone wrote, I realized how Alexander the Great conquered half of the earth. How? He was 21 years old. So what is effortless at the age of 21? At the age of 51, you begin to feel the pull of the body, and that it will not remain like this. After some time, it will go to the peak and then start deteriorating. If you live healthily, gluten-free and all, manage deterioration. If you live unhealthily, steep, precipitous deterioration. One doctor said, we have made so much advance in medical technology, Swami, we can guarantee that we will save you. You will live for a long time, but we cannot guarantee you will live well. You will live, we will make you live, but suffering will be there. So, old age is a problem. And the senior most member of our ashram there in New York, Bill Conrad, he is 99 years old. And he says, Swami, old age is not for sissies. He's quoting an American actress, Betty Davis. Old age is not for sissies. So there, especially if you're elderly, you can call emergency services, 911, immediately ambulance will come. So recently I had taken to using the ambulance as Lyft, Uber, like that. Wherever he wants to go, he'll call an ambulance. So, no, I'm joking. But it's true that old age is a problem. And disease and death. And Buddha is having the same problem. Then the Buddha answered. You know what spirituality really does? The Buddha said, listen. Imagine a person who's hit by 2 arrows. One arrow, and immediately afterwards, another arrow. Imagine the suffering. Now, the first arrow is what the world throws at you. What is it? Old age, disease, death, and so many problems. No parking. All of this is the first arrow. The second arrow is our reaction to this. And Bhagavan Buddha says, most of our suffering is caused by our reaction to the first arrow. Most of our suffering. Any doctor knows this. It's serious disease. Patient is calm and dignified and collected. Minor problem, hysterical, breakdown, screaming, shouting, fainting. What does it mean? That disease is the first arrow. But the real suffering is my reaction to that disease. Reaction to the diagnosis. Reaction, little bit of physical pain is there. Now my reaction to it. Either I ignore it and control it and go on with my life. So many people have chronic pain. You have to manage with it. Or I make such a fuss about it, my entire life is ruined. So the reaction causes maximum suffering. And Bhagavan Buddha says that second arrow, what I teach you will show you how to deal with the suffering of that second arrow. you will be able to overcome the suffering of the second arrow. The first one I cannot do anything about. If you are a living being, you have to face suffering. Narendranath Datta, who became Vivekananda, I was thinking that it struck me. At the time when he was doing his most intense spiritual practice under the guidance of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna is the guru, Narendranath or Vivekananda is the disciple, and Sri Ramakrishna is teaching him, Narendranath is doing all kinds of very profound and serious spiritual practices, meditation and so on and so forth. That was also the time of his maximum suffering. His father died. He had to provide for his widowed mother and his little younger brothers and sisters, and he couldn't get a job. Eldest son of the family couldn't get a job, struggling to make ends meet. Once a wealthy family, now in poverty. When he's doing maximum spiritual practice. So spirituality and suffering are going on together. You don't think that if I'm very spiritual, everything is done. I will always find parking, then no. So, Bhagavan Buddha says that what spirituality actually does is it takes you beyond the suffering of that second arrow. It changes your reaction to that suffering. That's what it does. So, if I worship God, my suffering will not be less. That also is possible. That also happens. It's not untrue. The protection of God, suffering, what my karma is supposed to bring to me, that may be attenuated or reduced because of taking refuge in God. But what really helps us is spirituality, which takes you beyond, helps you to transcend suffering, changes our reaction to that suffering, so that even if the suffering is there, I feel I am all right. Swami Shivananda, who was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna and the second president of our Ramakrishna order, this is in the 1920s. He was a very old Swami at that time. 80 years at that time is very old. So late 70s at that time. And he was always suffering from chronic asthma. One night he couldn't sleep and the other monks heard about it. Next morning all the monks went to bow down to him and somebody asked, Swami, how are you? And the Swami said, fine, I'm fine. Oh, but we heard that you couldn't sleep the whole of last night. And the Swami said, oh, you mean this body? Not good at all. For him, that paradigm shift has happened. I am not this body. I am the witness consciousness. But if you're asking about the body, suffering is there. Sri Ramakrishna himself, one of the youngsters who later became a monk, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Hari, who became Swami Turiyananda, he comes and visits Sri Ramakrishna, dying of throat cancer, terminal throat cancer. And he asks, sir, how are you today? And Sri Ramakrishna replies, oh, this hurts, I cannot eat. A doctor told me throat cancer is one of the worst kinds of cancer. I cannot eat. Somehow this young man, Hari, I don't know what possessed him, he said, but sir, I see that you're in great bliss. Maha Ananda, you're in great bliss in Ananda. And Sri Ramakrishna agreed. He laughed and he said, oh, the rascal has found me out. This fellow, he has found out. Now that suffering, was he pretending? No. As much as any cancer patient experiences suffering, Sri Ramakrishna was also experiencing the same suffering. And yet, at the same time, with great honesty, he can say, I am beyond this. I am perfectly all right. I am in great joy. How is it possible? This is because of that paradigm shift. At the level of the body, cancer is there. It is true. I cannot eat. It is hurting. But as witness consciousness, as Chaitanya, as the Atman, I am perfectly all right. And I am unconditionally so. Nothing can affect me. Dukkheshu anudvignamana. We'll spend a little bit of time dwelling on the nature of this. What is this dukkha? What is this suffering? Examine it. I will quickly, what is called an information dump. I will give you a little bit of an insight, Vedantic insight. Just think about it a little bit. We will look at dukkha, suffering, in three ways, three very profound ways. Karana drishti, vastu drishti, sadhana drishti. Karana drishti means we'll try to see what is the cause of suffering. Vastu drishti, we'll try to see what is that suffering actually. And finally, sadhana drishti, from the perspective of our spiritual practice, we will try to see what is the role of suffering. Three, very quickly I will tell you a little bit. Karana drishti, a perspective from the perspective of cause of suffering. What is the cause of suffering? One, in Vedanta we say the causes of suffering are threefold: adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika. There are causes. This is suffering from living beings, adhibhautika. In Singapore, you don't have mosquitoes. Very good. It's a very big credit. I was telling people back in India, in Calcutta, same climate, same humidity, same heat, no mosquitoes. There, same climate, same heat, same humidity, full of mosquitoes. So that means there's some problem in management. So it could be a mosquito, it could be an insect, could be in the old Shastras they say Vyagra Sarpadi, tigers and all. So here in Singapore you need not worry about tigers, let alone mosquito. You don't worry about mosquitoes also, let alone tigers. But also other human beings, other people around me, the annoying neighbor, the disturbing colleague, problems at the house, at home. So all sorts of problems from other living beings, adi bhautika, suffering, cause of suffering, other living beings. I quoted the French philosopher Sartre, who said, hell is other people. What is hell? Other people. So that is one source of suffering. Second source of suffering, other people need not be people who are against you or enemies and all that. No, no. Even people whom you love very much and who love you very much. They are also cause of suffering precisely because you love them. So any parent knows. Everybody thinks children are source of joy, but source of joy, source of suffering also. Because you love them so much, you're so attached to them, a little better, little worse off, some problem in the child's physical health, whatever it is, you suffer more than the child. So even loved one will also cause suffering. So other people cause suffering, that's one. Second is natural causes, too hot, too cold, earthquakes, tsunami, whatever. So natural causes, adhidaivika. And third, our own body and mind, adhyatmika. See, ultimately all suffering has to come to your body to make you suffer. Come to your mind to make you suffer. So adhyatmika, body and mind, our own physical health, mental health is sources of suffering. So this is one cause of suffering, threefold cause of suffering. Second, let's look a little deeper. What is a deeper look at the cause of suffering? All this suffering finally has to come into the mind as what is called dukkhakara vritti. Dukkhakara vritti. A movement in the mind, a thought in the mind of the nature suffering. Of the nature, ouch, it hurts, I am unhappy. That thought has to come. Without that thought, you are not in suffering. That chitta vritti, that movement in the mind, this is so bad, this is so awful, I am in pain, I am unhappy. This vritti has to come in the mind, then only you say that is the cause of suffering. That I am suffering because that this thing has come in the mind. So this is a deeper look at suffering. Whatever the external causes of suffering, whatever the physical cause of suffering, it's only when I acknowledge I am in pain, I am unhappy, then only suffering is there. Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of the president, she said famously, no one can hurt you without your permission. So, dukkhakara vritti, even more deeply, dukkha, last, final cause of suffering, deepest, dukkha abhimana, the identity with the dukkhakara vritti. Let me repeat that. There is this feeling in the mind, oh, it's so bad, it's so awful, it's painful, it's sad, it's tragic. But I must also own it. I am in pain. So you might say, what do you mean? If there is a feeling of pain, then I am in pain. No, that depends on our identification with the body-mind. That depends on my identity. Who am I? If you have already made the paradigm shift, aham brahmasmi, like Sri Ramakrishna, you can say, yes, there is pain in the body. Even in the mind, there is an acknowledgement. It is painful. I cannot eat. But I am all right. What is he doing? The dukkha abhimana is not there. He disowns it. He taught his disciples, many of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna in the old age when they suffered from disease and all, they would say this in Bengali, Shorir jane dukkho jane, mon tui anande thak. Let the body know its own suffering. But oh my mind, you stay in joy. Atma is bliss, it will never be affected by suffering. Body will suffer, you cannot stop it. It is the mind which is spiritualized. So what is the mind? Instead of dwelling and owning up to it, I am in suffering, disown it. Yes, there is suffering. I am not escapist. I know there is pain. And my mind recognizes dukkha kara vritti, suffering, pain. But I am not in pain. I am the witness of it. So this is the deepest cause of suffering is dukkha abhimana, owning it up. It is my suffering. One sadhu said something a monk, he said something very insightful in Vedanta. Application of Vedanta. How do you apply it in day-to-day life? I'll tell you what he said in Hindi and translate it. Very simple but profound advice. Mahatma ji, jo cheez jahan ka hai, usko wahin rehne do. He said, oh monk, whatever belongs to where, the rightful place, keep it in its rightful place. Do not misplace things. What do you mean misplace things? Pain in the body, let it stay there. Don't bring it into the mind or into yourself. I am the witness of a sharp pain in the hand. We don't normally say that. What do we say? Ouch! I am in pain. No, you are not in pain. You are aware of the pain. Isn't it the same thing? No. Your awareness. Awareness you cannot pinch awareness, you can pinch the body. So, jo cheez jahan ka hai, what belongs to where, you keep it there. Physical pain, keep it in the body. Acknowledge, yes, there is pain, but it's there. Mental pain, acknowledge, yes, there is pain. It's in the mind. Not mine, not mine. Not in me, not mine. I am the witness. Proof, I was there before the pain. I am there witnessing the pain. I'll be there when the pain is gone. I am actually free of the pain, before the pain, after the pain, but also during the pain. So this is dukkha abhimana. This is the deepest cause of sorrow. And we must cut it at that point. Then the second way of looking at dukkha is what is called vastu drishti. What is it? Not the cause of dukkha, but what is this dukkha? And very stunning statements are made here. Dukkha, suffering, Brahma Swarupa. It is nothing other than Brahman itself. It is not suffering. It is Brahman. It is Satchidananda. After all, when I feel the flash of pain, you know what it is? It is a manifestation of consciousness. One great Swami put it, he was a Shankaracharya of Sringeri. He put it this way. We are all generally aware of our bodies. Okay, we are aware. But we are not always thinking about our bodies. In fact, a sign of healthy body is when you don't think about the body. If the body is not bringing itself to your attention, it's a healthy body. Some pain, some ache, some fever, some kind of lassitude, body is unhealthy. You feel it. Now, we are generally aware of our bodies, this Swami said. But somebody comes and gives you a punch, a friendly punch, like this he does. What happens? You become more aware, suddenly a flash of awareness of the body because it touched you like this. Now, here's the teaching. Treat pain like this. You are consciousness, you are aware. I am the awareness in which everything is appearing. Suddenly there is a flash of pain. A greater awareness that I am consciousness. A greater awareness. Immediate flash of awareness. No. See, our problem is we become immediately focused on the pain. Oh, it's so bad. But use that pain to focus back on yourself as it becomes so clear. When you are in pain, it's so clear that you are awareness. One of our Swamis tried it on dentist's chair. I don't recommend it. Because when it's drilling and cutting and extreme pain, or at least if not pain is there, at least extreme discomfort is guaranteed. You can use that for Vedantic meditation. It's a continuous, powerful manifestation of yourself as consciousness. That's why I think they call it transcendental meditation. Yeah. So Brahma Swarupa, pain is Brahman itself. You say that's too much. Pain is that, not that pain is the reality, Brahman is the reality. All right, step down, one step down. Brahma Vivarta. I'm using the technical terms, it takes some time to explain them. Those who study Advaita, they immediately know what I mean. See, the Sanskrit is so powerful, especially when it comes to philosophy. Brahma Vivarta. If you cannot accept that pain is, it's Brahman. If you cannot laugh with Sri Ramakrishna in the middle of terminal throat cancer and say, I am in bliss, at least one step down. It is an appearance of Brahman. It's not Brahman, an appearance of Brahman. What is pain? It's like a movie screen like that. On a movie screen, there may be an inferno. Is the movie screen burnt? No. On the movie screen, there may be a deluge, a flood in the movie. Is the movie screen, does it become wet? No. So the appearance does not affect reality. Shankaracharya puts it this way. All the water in a mirage is not enough to wet one grain of sand in the desert. All the pain in the universe will not affect you in the least bit. You are immortal existence, consciousness, bliss. Nothing can destroy you. One day the universe will collapse, heat, death of the universe or something. You will be there to witness it. You will be fine. So, Brahma, appearance of Brahman, all suffering, small and large, appearance of Brahman. You are the witness of it. This is the Brahma Vivarta. One step down. One professor, Arindam Chakravarti, told me about his guru. He was a great Vaishnava teacher. So see, this realization, it's not only limited to Advaitins. We're talking in the language of Advaita Vedanta. This realization, enlightenment, the benefits of this will come whether you are in the path of bhakti or in the path of jnana. In whichever path you take, you will get this benefit. Now the professor told me about the last days of his guru, who was a great Vaishnava master. He was about to pass away. Patients, sometimes they develop bed sores. Those who are doctors and nurses, bed sores in the back. So you have to treat it. And the doctors would come, they would make the old Swami stand up and, put spirit and this disinfectant. And the Swami would giggle, burst out laughing. The doctor says, where is it hurting? Please tell us, where is it hurting? And he's laughing. So why are you laughing, Swami? He says, because all of it is the manifestation of the divine. And then the doctors pleaded, don't do that, Swami, because unless we know where it hurts, we can't treat you properly. Don't laugh where it is hurting. Now, if one of the person dying, suffering from intense irritation and pain, and his reaction is to giggle. How is that possible? He sees it. That's the Brahma Swarupa, the first one actually, the flash of Brahman itself. The second one is appearance of Brahman. Or the third one could be what is called Prakriti Parinama. All sorts of suffering is basically a transformation of nature. So, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and Rajas is basically, it gives rise to pain. So it is a manifestation of nature, manifestation of Maya, a transformation of the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in the body and mind. That's what creates pain. You are the witness of it. Prakriti Parinama. So what is pain? Vastu Drishti, reality. In Hindi, they say, kya hai wo? Vastu kya hai? What is the reality? Treat it as if you can, if you dare. It is Brahman itself. Most welcome. Brahma Swarupa. Or if you cannot go so far, Brahma Vivarta, an appearance of Brahman, like a movie. Or even more practical, coming down to this body-mind level, it is Prakriti Parinama, a natural transformation of nature. Due to certain causes and conditions, this pain is there. Then the third one I wanted to touch upon was that sadhana drishti. Very quickly I will mention it again. From the perspective of karma, in karma yoga we say, what is pain or enjoyment? Prarabdha karma. It is causes and conditions, past causes and conditions set in motion by us in ancient lives. Sridhar Swami, a commentator, says, Prachina karma samskara. Ancient karmas have created samskaras and also created karma phala, results, which are now manifesting as this pain. No one to blame. No one to blame. Let me put up with it. It will come, it will be, it will go. Bad karma is being exhausted as suffering here. So that is karma drishti. Pain is my past karma being exhausted. It's good if pain comes and it goes away, because then my bad karma is exhausted. It's a very interesting way of looking at it. Pleasure and happiness comes, bad, because your good karma is getting exhausted. So that is karma drishti. Second, bhakti drishti, from the perspective of devotion, from devotion to the Lord. It is the anugraha, sukha, dukkha, both happiness and pain, pleasure and pain are all the blessings of the Lord. All meant for my spiritual evolution, and I am happy. The Lord has given me this, I am fine. Hunger, one of the worst pains, hunger. So this is a true story I heard in the Himalayas about the monks there. One monk would not go out for begging. All the others, we all used to go out for begging, but there was one monk who would not go out for begging. I did not see, I heard the story. He would stay in his cave and the villagers would bring him food. They respected him very much. One day and he would say, Mera yaar khilata hai. He is using Kabir Das's terminology. Kabir Das used to call God Yar. Yar means buddy, friend, my pal. God is my friend. Mera yaar khilata hai. My friend feeds me. So one day the villagers wanted to test him and they did not come with food at the appointed hour, but they hid and watched what happened. And the monk came out of the cave, looked around, where is food? No food. Then he went back. After some time again the monk came out, looked, no food. In the evening, I hope they fed him finally, but in the evening the villagers came and asked him, so what happened? Your friend did not feed you today? Yaar nahi khilaya? And the monk started dancing. Chalo aaj meri yaar ki chali. How to translate that? Well, today, it's good today. The will of my friend has been fulfilled. They asked him, what do you mean? Every day I want to eat, and my will is that I should eat. And God's will also is the same as mine. God does what I want. God feeds me. My friend feeds me. Today also I want to eat. I am hungry. But my friend does not want, he is not going to do what I want. He wants to do what he wants. I am so happy. He has done today. He has made me starve today. His will has been done, not my will. I am happy. Chalo aaj meri yaar ki chali. So that is the bhakta, the devotee's drishti. Whatever comes is the blessings of the Lord. I am happy. And then jnana, the view from the perspective of the way of knowledge. There's a term used there, shocking term. Prajna aparadha. It's an offense for a jnani to say that he or she is in pain. Have you not agreed? Paradigm shift. Aham brahmasmi. Then how can you complain? You don't have to be escapist. You can say there is severe pain in the body or some unhappiness has come to the mind. But you cannot say I am in pain. It is prajna aparadha, an offense against the Advaitic knowledge to even say that I am suffering. What a stand they take. Huh? So this is dukkheshu anudvigna manah. Sukheshu vigataspriya. Be free of hankering when in the midst of pleasure. Don't try to hold on to it. Let it come, let it be, let it go. That beautiful poem is there. William Blake's poem is there. He binds himself to death who holds on to a joy. I'm paraphrasing, I've forgotten the lines. If you're holding on to pleasure, you're binding yourself to mortal life. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. So as the pleasures, happiness, good things in life are coming and going away also, you say goodbye, thank you, you gave me a good time, good. Bye-bye. That person lives in eternity's sunrise. For him, always life is sunrise. There is no loss or sorrow or sadness. So, do not hanker, do not hold on. Sukheshu vigatas priya, without any thirst in the midst of happiness. Vita raga bhaya krodha stitadi muni ruchyate. You transcend raga bhaya krodha. These are the things. If you think you are enlightened, try to manifest this enlightenment day-to-day life. Then these strong likes and dislikes. Raga means a desire. I want, I want, I want. This situation in my life is not to my liking. I must change it to that. Of course, you must strive to make your life better. But you must not think, this is awful and that is wonderful. This also I can get used to, and that also is not so great. What is common sense I will do. But I should not hanker after it. Raga, trying to grasp that. That alone is the goal of my life. That money, that apartment, that vacation, that gadget, that relationship, that award, that Facebook likes, those are my goal. This is called raga. You let go of that. Vita raga. Bhaya and krodha. What? Fear and anger. What is fear and anger? Anger is our reaction to a present problem. My raga, I want something that is being obstructed. I want something that is being obstructed, immediately anger is there. Any presence of anger in the mind, know for certain that something that I wanted, selfish, no matter how I disguise it. If there is a flash of anger, my selfish want has been obstructed somewhere. Then only anger comes. That's why there is no righteous anger. Righteous anger, I am angry for the oppressed people of the world. No, you may fight for the oppressed people of the world, but you cannot be angry. The Buddhist monk, very famous, Thich Nhat Hanh, who Miracle of Mindfulness, wonderful, one should read that. Miracle of Mindfulness, he passed away recently, I think, yeah. When in the early days he went to Europe, there was these anti-war protesters, the Greenpeace, anti-nuclear weapon protesters. Those who are of that generation, they know. In Europe, there was against the agitation against deployment of nuclear missiles, nuclear-tipped missiles. So at that time, this monk reached, and he met many of the environmental and the anti-nuclear protesters, and he writes an observation. I was surprised at how angry the peace protesters were. They felt, yes, our cause is righteous. You have to be angry. He said, no, 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 you cannot be angry. You match it with what Mahatma Gandhi, when he fought for independence against the British, at no point did he hate the British. At no point was he even angry with the British. But he was quite clear, what they were doing is wrong, it is oppressive, and it has to be changed. So, this raga, krodha, anger is always obstruction. Some obstruction has come to my desire. Then bhaya, fear. Future problem. Present problem, anger. Future problem, I see, anxiety, fear. Both will go away if raga is let go. When these are gone, vita raga bhaya krodha sthitadhi, then your knowledge, aham brahmasmi, will be steady. Then the last one, I will mention it and then stop. Yas sarvatra nabhisneha tat tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya pragya pratisthita. The one, that person's knowledge, realization is stable. Jivan mukta, sthita pragya. Paradigm shift, ethical manifestation, both are happening. Who? The one, when good and bad things come, shubha shubha. Expected, unexpected, you wanted, unwanted, those things keep coming. The person neither is delighted at when things go his way, his or her way, nor is upset when things do not go your way. Your reaction. You say, but didn't you say the same thing earlier? Dukkheshu anudvigna mana, are not upset when the dukkha comes. Remember, that is talking about the mind. Anudvigna manaha. Mind is not upset. Internally you are serene. But now externally, in your speech, do you say, wow, this is great, this is awesome. In America, everything is awesome. You get one cookie also, that's awesome. The cookie cannot be awesome anyway. That's the new modern language. Do not feel that everything is, I'm excited about it. It's a common question there. In America, they will say, are you excited? No, why should I be excited? If you are not excited, then you must be unhappy. These are the only two states. Everybody has to be excited all the time. Otherwise, you are unhappy. No, no, not at all. Sarvatra nabhisneya tat tat prapya shubha shubham na abhinandati. Does not say, wow, are you excited? Excellent. No, no, no. Or if things are going badly, oh, this is awful, this is terrible. No, no, it's not terrible. It's not awful. Na abhinandati na dveshti. Does not resist when things do not turn out your way. You accept it in a mature way and deal with it. So, this is, how will this come? This comes from detachment, asangatvam. Then only the wisdom is settled. I'll just make an observation about this shubha shubham, the two words used. Shubha means auspicious, good, wanted. You want these things to happen. You want these people to behave like this with you. Shubha, auspicious, good. Ashubha, bad, inauspicious, unwanted. In both cases, your reaction is neither to say it is great or to say it is awful. Now this Shubha Shubha, the drishti is important. What is Shubha and what is Ashubha? What is good and what is awful? It depends on, let's see how it changes. There are 4 categories. In one analysis, there are 4 categories of human beings. I mentioned this earlier also. Pamara, this is a Vedantic analysis. Pamara, the instinctive life, almost animalistic. It is a person, for example, an addict. They are not living for any goal in life, even selfish goals also, just for the next drink or next drug hit or something. Addicted person, instinctive person. Pamara literally in Sanskrit means an uncultured person. So that kind of life. Or person who's living for, make a quick buck. I don't care as long as the police don't catch me, or the IRS, in the US it is IRS, Internal Revenue, so taxman. Taxman doesn't catch me, it's fine, that's Pamara. No question of morality, no question of any higher goals, that's one. For that person, Shubha Shubha, what is good and what is not good. If that person gets the next drink or that little bit of money he makes illegally also, that is good. And Ashubha is when that is stopped. Somebody, you can't drink anymore, you have to take you to a rehab, have to put you into detoxification. So that person will think it is Ashubha, this is terrible for me. A little better than that is somebody is called a dharmika person. A person who has a moral basis, a moral code, ethical person who thinks of himself or herself as a decent person. Luckily, most of society is made of such persons, more in Singapore than anywhere else. So, you have a decent person, a moral person, ethical person, still worldly, pursuing worldly goals, but good person. For that person, Shubha Ashubha will be different. What is Shubha? What is Shubha? When things go well in life, you succeed in your honest profession, you succeed, you're recognized, that's good. You have children and grandchildren, that's good. For a Pamara, that instinctive, that addict, that guy, these things may not be good at all, they don't want it. If you get recognition for your successes, that's good, Shubha. Ashubha is when there is failure in life, or there is some sickness, some problem in the family, problem in the job, that's Ashubha. Go higher than that. The third level is a sadhaka. A sadhaka is a spiritual seeker, spiritual practitioner. What is Shubha and Ashubha? A bottle of wine, Ashubha. Promotion, more work, better job opportunity, which will be Shubha for the dharmika, the Vishayi person. Ashubha, I don't want it. See, at this stage, many people become confused. Swami, ever since I have become spiritual, my drive for succeeding, climbing the corporate ladder has reduced. I feel something is going wrong. Nothing is going wrong, it's perfectly all right. It's a sign of maturity. See, if you win the corporate race, rat race, if you win the rat race also, you are a rat. Let alone if you lose. So at one time you have to stop. Initially it's great when you're a young person going ahead in life, education, job, it's good to encourage. Do more, work hard and succeed. Morally, ethically, of course. But after that, one must slow down. One must step back a little bit. One sadhu put it very beautifully. He said in Hindi, very homely language, rural Hindi language they use, but very deep things. Very affectionately he said, ये साधन जो है ना महात्मा जी जरा हटके होता है, पीछे हटके होता है. ये साधन जो है ना महात्मा जी जरा पीछे हटके होता है. Any kind of spiritual practice, you must step back a little bit from too much engagement with the world. In Manhattan, they say New York, the city that never sleeps, famously. And I saw one slogan, city that never sleeps but dreams. So really, what do you call it? This those who don't get sleep, what is that called? Insomniac city it is. Day and night they will work, Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, party. I said it is fine, but it's fine only at up to a certain level. After some time, some maturity must come. At 24, 25, you're working in Wall Street, you're working hard day and night, and then you're partying hard also. Good, get that experience. If you want to, get it, if you want to. If you don't want to, you're saved. You're saved. But if you want to, go ahead and get it. But at 30, if you are doing that, at 35, if you are doing that, at 40, if you are doing that, no. Take a look. Then you are doing it blindly. You are not enjoying it as you were enjoying it in the first few years. So, stepping back from too much engagement with the world. So that is sadhaka. What is Shubha and Ashubha for the sadhaka? All spiritual opportunities, chance for meditation retreat. Shubha. That Pamara, the first guy, if you put him in a meditation retreat, rehab itself is awful for that person. Meditation retreat is like torture. But for sadhaka, it's a wonderful opportunity. I can go in a lovely, peaceful place with good spiritual vibration. My food and lodging are taken care of. I can sit and meditate. Wonderful. Sadhus, I spent months in the Himalayas living in a little hut, no electricity, no furniture. My bed was two, razai, blankets on the floor, and two blankets on my body, and one blanket here folded for my pillow. That was the only creature comfort that I have. Otherwise, a wooden cabin. Nothing else. No chair, table, electricity, nothing. And you have to beg for your food. And take a bath, ice melted water. I kid you not. Ice melted water. The Indians will recall, older generation. You know what a dalda tin is? So it was a tin in which vegetable oils would come. Somebody had thrown it away. That was my bucket. I would fill it up from an ice melted water stream to the tree. And then there's nobody to watch. So in my loincloth I would stand. I would chant the entire Nirvana Shatakam. That I am not the body, not the mind. And because not getting courage to pour it on my head. And then finally, with one go, splash. Not so bad. That is Shubha. For a sadhaka, it is Shubha. It is welcome opportunity. For somebody else, it's torture. And then food, what chance may bring, not bad, but simple food. You'll go and beg for it and they will give you the food. That's it. So Shubha or Shubha. And then for Siddha, for the enlightened one, Shubha, Shubha, Parityagi. Neither Shubha or Shubha, they have realized the truth and they do not struggle about the Shubha or Shubha anymore. For the Jnani, for the enlightened one, I'll say that and stop, we have gone beyond time. For the enlightened one, the rope, there's a rope thrown away by somebody. By mistake, somebody sees the classical thing, a snake, mistakes it for a snake. Somebody else says, no, it's not a snake. It's a flower garland discarded from the temple. So what is Ashubha? Snake is Ashubha, inauspicious. What is Shubha? The flower garland. But the Jnani says it is neither a snake nor a garland. It is a rope. Similarly, for the Brahma Jnani, if you are enlightened, from your perspective, nothing that this world shows is Shubha or Ashubha. But remember, this Shubha and Ashubha, good and bad, auspicious, inauspicious, they are good helps for the rest of us, for our spiritual evolution. So these are the practices, advanced practices for embodying or manifesting our realization. Even before full realization, even if don't be in a hurry to claim I'm enlightened. But you can proudly claim and should certainly claim, I am a spiritual seeker. I am on the path of God realization. For us, these are wonderful practices. To the takeaway, let me just give you the words. Bodh me ekatva. In your realization, in your nature, oneness. I am one consciousness. Aham brahmasmi. Chit me samatva. Serenity. Don't let anything in the world disturb the serenity of your mind. It's a practice. Vyavahar me asangatva. In your dealings with the world, with people, with events in the world, detachment. And these are the practices for supreme empowerment. You will see life will be blessed, heart will be full of peace, and you will be a blessing to everybody else. I pray to the Lord present here to bless all of us. May the knowledge which He has given thousands of years ago and continuing down here to this day, right here now, may it manifest in our lives. May our paradigm change, and may we realize ourselves, I am not body and mind. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. I am of the nature of bliss and consciousness, and may it manifest in our day-to-day activities as a life of an enlightened soul, as a Jivan Mukta. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So there is, yes, you can clap.
Deeply grateful to you, Swamiji, for your invaluable message and for showering this eternal wisdom on us. Bhagavan Shri Krishna gave us the essence of the entire vast expanse of Vedanta in the form of nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. And we are truly blessed that Swamiji has given us the essence of the Gita itself in a nutshell. Only in a satsanga like this Gita Jnana Yajna with Swamiji will we be able to get a step closer to what Adi Shankaracharya described as Nirmohatvam, Nishchalatattvam and Jivan Mukti, which was very beautifully summarized in very powerful words by Swamiji today. Bodh me ekatva, chit me samatva and vyavahar me asangatva. These words will stay with us forever, Swamiji. We are truly blessed to have experienced the bliss of Sankhya Yoga through your very powerful words. I now request Swami Samachittanandaji from Sri Ramakrishna Mission Singapore, Sri Rajan Krishnanji, Chairman, Hindu Endowments Board, Sri Senguttuvanji, Chairman, Hindu Advisory Board, Sri Shirishji, the committee member of Malwa Cultural Association, and Sri Srinivasanji, Chairman, Gita Jayanti Singapore, to come over to the dais for the release of Gita Vani. I request Swamiji to release Gita Vani. Gita Vani is an annual publication by Gita Jayanti with contributions from eminent scholars and thinkers on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It also has a photo gallery capturing Gita Jayanti events since the last publication. There is also a digital copy of Gita Vani available in PDF format. To access the digital copy, you could log on to the website www.gitajayanti.org.sg. All the participants may receive a copy of the Gita Vani on their way out at the foyer. For those of your friends who are not present today, they might collect their copies tomorrow at the Gita Homam. Thank you very much, Swamiji, Shri Rajan Krishnanji, and Shri Shirish Johar-ji. We now proceed to the Q&A session, before which we have a few quick reminders for the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time today. As you all might have seen, the beautiful arrangements below at level 1, we are going to have the Gita Havan tomorrow with Sampurna Parayanam of Srimad Bhagavad Gita between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Swamiji will bless us with his presence and deliver a short lecture after the Parayanam. Swamiji will be speaking on the topic of words of the Master, Advaitic teachings of Sri Ramakrishna tomorrow between 5 and 6:30 p.m. in Sri Ramakrishna Mission, Singapore. The next big event with our lead organization, Malwa Cultural Association, is Krishna Leela on the 26th of August at Sri Veeramma Kaliamma Temple. The following major event would be Krishna Manjari on the 8th of September at this PGP Hall, featuring the Carnatic musician Vidushi Nityashri Mahadevan. Please collect a copy of your IGF booklet if you haven't already done so, and there are some QR codes which might help you, which are printed behind the booklet. A gentle reminder to all of you to please register your Sankalpa online for Likhita Gita Samarpanam. The link to register and more details may be found in the IGF booklet itself. Even if you start tomorrow, you will be able to complete all the 700 verses in your own handwriting by Mokshada Ekadashi Day. Like I mentioned, we have super senior citizens of 90 plus years, both in Singapore and overseas, who have taken up this yajna, who will surely serve as an inspiration for us. Satvik Prasadam will be served at the end of today's session in the dining hall below. As we are receiving many queries on contributions for Prasadam served on all days, such contributions are welcome. Please contact the committee members for more information on this. We now have a short Q&A session for around 30 minutes. Please keep your questions focused and very brief. One question per person, please. Please state your name and move ahead to ask your question. You have 3 mics on each of the aisles. Please queue up behind them to ask your questions. If you are unable to ask your questions today due to paucity of time or because you're hesitant to do so, you may send your questions by email to askswami@vedantany.org. I repeat, askswami@vedantany.org. Swamiji will try to answer them in the Ask Swami sessions. Though by watching Swamiji's YouTube lectures, you're very likely to find that your question has already been answered. We now have the Q&A session.
All right, just to keep things within time, we have a hard stop at 8:45. So we'll start with the lady there. Tell us your name and ask the question. And so when you stand in the queues here, just be aware that you might not get a chance to ask your question. You can take a chance and stand anyway. Yes, please ask the question.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Thank you so much for 3 days of insights. My name is Harika. And I understand theoretically that detachment is not about not having feelings, or detachment is not about not having compassion. But from a practical perspective, can you expand a little bit more on how we practice detachment on a day-to-day basis, especially with your loved ones, especially professionally and so on?
Yes.
Thank you.
In fact, today there was a term which I didn't get time to expand upon. The third verse which I was talking about today, Yas Sarvatra Anabhisneha. That word, the Sanskrit word Anabhisneha. Sneha means love, affection. And it says Anabhisneha, that means where everywhere, with everybody, the enlightened one does not have attachment, particular attachment, but full of love for everybody. So the difference between an enlightened person or a spiritual person and a worldly person has particular likes and dislikes, particular attachments, born of family or relationships or whatever, possession, ownership. That's where attachment comes from, and that leads to suffering. Now, detachment does not mean that you will become cold and calculating and I'm detached from you, I don't care. It's not like that. I care very deeply, but I care very deeply for everybody. And so it may not be possible, in fact, it's impossible to tell a person in a family situation, for example. It is inevitable that you will have a special feeling for, at least for your children. That's inevitable. So what you do there is, instead of saying that I love this particular boy or girl because he is my son or daughter, but I love this child more so, internally you have this feeling, because my beloved Lord is present there. My Krishna or my Rama or my Devi is present in that child, and therefore I love. But that Rama or Krishna or Devi is present in everybody also. I have seen sadhakas like that, who see the Lord in all beings. One of the monks in our order, very senior monk, going into a classroom, before that he bowed down. He didn't notice that I had noticed him. So I asked him, whom did you bow down? It's actually not Krishna. Yeah. So whom did you bow down to? There is no picture of any deity or in front. So he said, I'll tell you what he said in Bengali and I'll translate. Gadadhar Rupi Sri Ramakrishna ke. I bowed down to Sri Ramakrishna in the form of Gadadhar. Gadadhar is the childhood name of Sri Ramakrishna. So all those little boys who were sitting in the classroom, before entering the classroom, I bow down to Sri Ramakrishna as those little children sitting there. Now what is happening? You have a great love and reverence for all of them. There is no particular personal attachment to any particular person. Yeah. So that is how you deal. That is detachment. Detachment is not that I don't love anybody. Then that becomes selfishness. Love for oneself remains, and then I'm spiritual. What? I love myself, but I don't love anybody else. That's not spirituality. That is selfishness. So to see the divine in all beings and to love them, you don't have to mention. From now on, I shall see Krishna in you. People will think that mom has gone mad or something. No, but internally that is a change in your attitude, and it's not difficult to do also. Little bit practice. I know many people who do karma yoga do it that way. They see the divine, mentally they feel the divine in all these beings, and then I serve. Whether in classroom, in the office, or in the kitchen, wherever it is. All right. Gentleman here. Please lift.
Get confused with the terminology used in terms of he or she is realized or enlightened, as though it is one end point and as though it is made out to be digital 0 or 1, right? I am either not realized or I am realized. I'm talking about the language used in this whole, and well, obviously a lot of your videos as well. And the question is, if someone is already into or past smaranam, isn't he more enlightened than that who is not? If you are already into mananam, aren't you more enlightened than if you are just in the smaranam? And so on. It's a progression, isn't it? So why is this language used in spirituality often made it sound like Vivekananda is enlightened, Subra is not? Maybe. Yeah. Isn't it just a progression? Isn't enlightenment
I
a
understand
process?
the point. It's a good point. Is it a progression? Is it a progressive path? In one sense, of course it is. We are all on that path. It's better not to use the language of enlightened, fully enlightened, Jivan Mukta, Sthita Pragya and all that. Instead say that we are all spiritual seekers. That is safe. That's the right. It's much better to say that you are a seeker, you are a sadhaka, even when you are enlightened, than to say that you are enlightened when you are not enlightened. So that's good. However, there is a reason for language like that. The reason is, if you are walking on the path, you might have this doubt in the mind. Is there an end? Is there a goal to be attained? Or is this something that, like exercise? You are exercising, that's all. No, there is a goal to be attained. There is a breakthrough, there is a God realization is a real thing. Brahma Jnana, God realization, Bodhi, what's the Japanese word for it? Satori. These are real things. This is real. So, and really attainable. So it's good to keep that language. But yes, what you're saying is right. It's always better to concentrate on the focus. Swami Vivekananda says, once having fixed the goal, my goal is God realization. My goal is enlightenment. Then he says, forget the goal, forget the end, concentrate on the means, on the process. Good point.
Thank you. I'll
you.
meet you again tomorrow morning.
On the left side here, that microphone. See if it's not working. If it's not working, you can come to this side. No. All right. So the gentleman on the right side, please come here. Come here. We'll give you an opportunity. Yeah. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji. My name is Priyesh Vishwakarma. So yesterday you mentioned about borrowed consciousness, like how the mind borrows the consciousness. So what's your take or view on other living creatures or even some of the higher intelligent now machines? So how do they borrow consciousness in similar way, and also how those beings or creatures perceive us being humans as borrowed consciousness?
Could you repeat that? How machines borrow consciousness?
Yeah, so I'm just asking, like, if mind became this intelligent, like we became intelligent, then later in the future or whatever centuries, if machines are becoming these many intelligent, then is there a possibility, like, if they borrow consciousness in some way?
Okay. What's your professional background? Are you a student or are you working?
Yeah, I work as a software engineer. Yeah,
You're a computer
engineer.
engineer. All right, that's helpful. It's a good question. It's something that I've been thinking about recently because of the development of AI, like ChatGPT and all that. By the way, somebody told me that the gentleman who developed ChatGPT, Sam Altman, somewhere somebody asked him online, tell us one thing that you believe which is not generally known. And he replied, Atman is Brahman, using those terms. It seems it's online. Somebody told me that it's online. On Twitter, it's on Twitter. Isn't it X now? Twitter.
Yeah.
So, it's a good question. It's very interesting for me, especially because what is interesting is that these machines, AI or AI powered, something is going on, yes. AI or AI powered robots, these are not conscious. Now, if you ask, how do you know that they are not conscious? You ask the experts, those who have programmed it, nobody will tell you that those who have programmed it, they will not tell you that these are conscious. Yes, I can use that. Maybe the battery might have. Is it on? Can you hear me? Yeah, this is better. Do I need to switch this off? Okay, done. Yeah, this is much better actually. So nobody seriously thinks that the ChatGPT or your Google self-driven car or any machine, they're conscious. And yet, notice one thing. These machines, robots, sensors, self-driven car, or something like an AI agent, ChatGPT is one, there are many others now. They are mimicking many of the capacities of the human mind. Sensor is very common. You go to a bathroom here, put your hand under the tap, water will come out. Go in front of a door in the airport, the door will open. So simple sensors are there. In some sense, they are seeing you. More sophisticated, something like the Google self-driven car. They are driving, you will drive and next to you one car is coming, no driver. No passenger, no driver. Driving nicely, better than you. So, which means these machines now have the power of sensor. They can see or sense the presence of other objects. They always had powerful memories more than us. They have decision-making capacity, a certain kind of intelligence. Vast knowledge. Database is far vaster than any human being. With the database on which these AIs are trained, a vast knowledge. Except one thing. So they have intelligence, memory, creativity. They're writing short stories, poems, I asked ChatGPT a few weeks ago, write a poem on Vivekananda. Immediately, nice poem. Not Pulitzer Prize winning material, but good poem, not bad. I think it would take a pretty creative, smart school kid to come up with a poem like that. But something that we cannot do. The next moment I asked ChatGPT, give me one more poem on Vivekananda. Give me one more poem. Again, I asked third poem on Vivekananda. And every time you ask, it can give you another poem on Vivekananda or whatever you want, which no human being can do, no poet can do. Yeah. So all these capacities, including creativity, kind of unlimited creativity is there. The capacities of human minds beyond our limits, except consciousness. Now we should ask. Nobody's asking this question, but immediately it struck me. Consciousness is simple. See, intelligence is a complex thing. Creativity is even more complex. But consciousness is simple. What does consciousness do? It does only one thing. It gives you first-person experience, what we call anubhava. What you're experiencing now, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. In all of these experiences, one thing is common. It has some internal feeling you get. That first-person experience. There is a technical term for that, qualia. That's all that consciousness does. And it should have been easy to program consciousness. But no, nobody has done it. Not only they have not done it. If you ask computer scientists, they have no idea where to begin. If you ask a person who is working on AI and all that, is your AI conscious? They will say no. So why is it not conscious? Why don't you make it conscious? They will say, we have no idea where to begin. How to make it intelligent? I have an idea how to do it. What algorithms have to write? How to make it creative? I have an idea how to do it. But how to make it conscious? Nobody has any idea at all. That means consciousness and mind are different. And consciousness, which gives you experience, and mind, which is a conglomeration of memory, imagination, intelligence, creativity, ego, all of this is mind. This is different and consciousness is different. This present phenomenon of intelligent machines, it is very interesting from a perspective of Sankhya or Vedanta. Now your question was, in future, is it possible? As you very clearly said, you are not talking about pure consciousness, Atman, Brahman, that is there everywhere. But practically this reflected consciousness which we all have, which makes us human, which makes us, living, conscious, sentient beings. What is that? It's that reflected consciousness, which we are experiencing right now as the feeling of awareness within ourselves. That one, can machines have it? That's what you're asking. And there's no clear answer to that. What does reflected consciousness depend upon? A reflector. What is the reflector in our cases? Mind. Or more technically, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. Antakarana Sukshma Sharira, inner instrument, mind, subtle body. Now, if you can duplicate that, you will get a reflected consciousness. Why? Because according to Vedanta, pure consciousness is everywhere. Not only Vedanta, Sankhya, the modern, this panpsychism, which David Chalmers is pushing. According to all of these theories, consciousness is ubiquitous. It is all pervasive. It's always there. You need a proper reflector, channelizer, whatever you call it, and then you will get reflected consciousness. Now, so far it is possible only through our minds, and which are seen to be associated with living brains. So is there a clue there? Can you one day design something like an artificial brain which will produce or generate a kind of an artificial mind which then can become conscious? That's the jury is out on that. Because it's very difficult to map what is meant by Sukshma Sharira, map it onto algorithms and chips and hardware and software of modern computer science. How to map it? We don't know. All right. The gentleman here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste Swami. My name is Prem. Bhagavan Ramana says that when you repeat the mantra, focus on the source from which the mantra originates. So when I repeat the mantra, my awareness is focused on the mantra, but I don't know how to go to the source from which the mantra comes. Can you please, sir?
I'll tell you, don't. It's not that he's wrong, but remember who is saying this? Bhagavan Ramana is saying this. Ramana Maharshi? Yes. His instruction was one and one only instruction. Who am I? So when you are repeating a mantra, what will he tell you? Trace it back to the source, the consciousness from which it is emerging. Any mantra, any thought, any perception, it's all emerging, illumined by one consciousness, which is you, the real you, which Bhagavan Ramana called the heart. So that is what he is proposing is, he is directing you back to the question, who am I? What is the source from which the mantra is emerging? You, the Atman, consciousness. But when you are chanting a mantra, if you're doing japa, mantra japa, then the focus should be on the mantra, focus should be on the Ishta Devata. So these are two different practices. Mantra japa and the inquiry, who am I? Inquiry, who am I, is on the path of jnana, which Ramana Maharshi specialized on. And he would direct you back to that. That is a direct path. And it's pretty easy. Source from which mantra is arising, if you chant the mantra, to whom the mantra is evident. I am chanting Om Namah Shivaya. Now one thing I can do is focus on Shiva and the mantra. Om Namah Shivaya and the form of Shiva in my heart. That is mantra japa. But what Ramana Maharshi is saying is, when you say Om Namah Shivaya, to what is this Om Namah Shivaya appearing? It is to me the witness consciousness. Once you have located it, that I am the witness consciousness, Gita says, Atma Sangstham Manakritva Na Kinchidapi Chintaye. Center yourself in that and then stop repeating the mantra. Don't think of anything else. That is Jnana Marga. Japa is different. So these are two different practices. You make up your mind which one you want to practice. All right. Yes.
Namaste Swamiji, my name is Krishna Kumar. My question is on the first 5 points that you talked about yesterday and day before yesterday regarding Ekatva. There is all the souls are basically one. So commenting on the verse 2:12, Ramanujacharya basically says that it is an evidence of a multiplicity of souls. Basically, so Ramanujacharya essentially says that there are multiple souls, whereas Advaita Vedanta says that there is only one soul. So could you throw some light on this?
Yes, Sri Ramanujacharya is talking from the Vishishtadvaita perspective, where the relationship between us, the Jivas, and Ishvara, or Paramatma, or God, it is called Shesha Sheshi, Anga Angi. God is the whole of which we are parts. So how many parts are there? Parts are always many. So as many beings, living beings, so many Jivatmas. But Paramatma is one. What is the relationship between Jivatma and Paramatma? Sentient being and the Supreme Lord. We are parts of that Supreme Being. This is Vishishtadvaita, qualified monism. But Shankara, Advaita Vedanta says, there is no such relationship. You are identical. So, there is only one consciousness. According to Ramanujacharya, there are many jivas, each with its own consciousness, and the whole of it is part of one consciousness. That is the Paramatma. Which one is correct? Both are correct at different perspectives. Hanuman was once asked by Ramachandra, what do you think of me? And Hanuman replied, Deha buddhya dasoham, jiva buddhya twadangshaka, atma buddhya tvamevaham, itime nishchitamati. As a body, as this person Hanuman, I am your servant, you are my master. Rama is the Lord, I am thy servant. That is first perspective. Second perspective, as a jiva, you are the whole, I am your part. But as pure consciousness, you and I are one. Three perspectives, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, Advaita. Which one is correct? Hanuman, Jnana Gun Sagar. Some of you repeat Hanuman Chalisa?
Yes.
Ocean of knowledge and the virtuous qualities. He has the perfect combination of paradigm shift and ethical manifestation. Supreme manifestation. What does he say? Iti me nishchitamati. This is my firm conviction. As servant also correct, as part of you also correct, as one with you also correct. All three are correct.
Thank you so much.
Pranam Swamiji, Manish. When Sri Ramakrishna was asked to cut up mother, what was he actually feeling? And where was he feeling whatever he felt?
So when Sri Ramakrishna was asked to cut the form of the mother, of Divine Mother, yes. So Totapuri, who was teaching him Advaita Vedanta plus meditation, this yogic meditation to attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna was continuously getting stuck at Savikalpa Samadhi. Because whenever he meditated, effortlessly he would go into Samadhi and he would experience the form of Ma Kali, the Divine Mother. But form is not the last word. There is something higher than form, the formless, the ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. So that's how Todapuri taught him to go beyond the form of the Divine Mother. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna says that he cut the form of the Divine Mother with the sword of knowledge and immediately became merged in one ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. That's the meaning.
Did he feel any pain when he was doing that? Did he feel any pain?
Did he feel any pain?
When he was trying to...
Yes, initially he felt a resistance because it is his beloved mother. I am the child, you are my mother. Why should I want to go beyond that? But Totapuri said, you must experience what is beyond. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So that, yeah.
Namaste Swami, my name is Yadunand. I'm new to Vedanta, so I apologize for any ignorance. I recently finished listening to your Drigdrishya Viveka series, and I was really mind blown by the end of it.
You have been listening to the Drigdrishya Viveka series?
I just,
so you're not very new. You are already into it, yes.
So in the series, you refer to these three states, the dream state, the experiential state, and the absolute state. And when I wake up from my dream state, I'm able to distinguish that that was a dream state. But although in that dream state, I saw forms and shapes that are kind of distorted versions of the forms and shapes I see in this world. So is there a possibility that the state we wake up to from this experiential state is some higher level experiential state that seeds the forms and shapes we see here?
Yes.
I'm trying to understand how there's an existence of a absolute state without form and shape, and it's able to veil itself as the different forms and shapes we see here.
Right. So the waking up from the dream into this waking state, that's used as an example for enlightenment. What happens in enlightenment is not that you wake up from this experiential state of subject-object into some other kind of experiential state. Then there is no end to it. How do you say that is the truth? There can be another truth beyond it. No. What happens is you wake up to the fact that your consciousness, to which waking, dreaming, and deep sleep are appearing and disappearing. I'll repeat. Just as in the dream state, you wake up from the dream to the waking world. In enlightenment, you wake up from the waking world to yourself as pure consciousness, to which, as awareness, to which waking, dreaming, deep sleep are all appearing and disappearing. There can be no further state, because this consciousness is not a state. To it, all the states are appearing. Waking is a state, dream is a state, samadhi is a state, being high on weed is a state. You can't do that in Singapore. But, and very good, congratulations to you, because I know in New York, every time I step outside the ashram, you can smell it, all are high. Especially after 5 p.m. All are having spiritual experiences. So that is also a state. But all of this is appearing to one consciousness. That is what you wake up to. And that's present everywhere. That's present in the waking state, that's present in the dream state, or more technically, the waking, dream, and deep sleep are present in that or appearing in that. That alone appears as waker and waker's world, dreamer and dreamer's world, deep sleep and the deep sleep darkness. That one. You wake up to that. It's present right here. We don't see it. That's the thing. We don't recognize it.
I'll need to think more about it. Thank you, Swami.
Another way of putting it is the I. We all experience I all the time. But what we don't experience or what we don't see it is, I don't see that I as Brahman. That's the problem. Not seeing the I as Brahman, I see it as this person, body, mind. Anyway.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Swamiji. Kindly accept my humble obeisances. And you were explaining about sadhana karana, In that you were explaining about perspective of the bhakta and then the jnani. Bhakta, he is totally dependent on Krishna, and the jnani, if he feels the pain, it is an offense for him. And how about the one more transcendentalist, yogi? What is his perspective when he feels, bodily suffering?
Yes, the yogi sees it as chitta vritti, movement of the mind, which is part of Prakriti. I am the witness consciousness, Purusha. Purusha and Prakriti, separation. Yeah.
Okay. And you explained about sufferings of mrityu, jara, vyadhi. Krishna says that janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha, doshanu, darshanam. Could you kindly, brief
Yes.
little about on
Good that you
janma?
pointed it out. In Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Sri Krishna has said, Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Jnana, what is knowledge? We are talking like Aham Brahmasmi, it is Jnana. Krishna says first, cool down, not so fast. First of all, see that old age, disease, death, these are suffering. Once this clarity dawns and you begin to notice it, this is knowledge. It's the beginning of knowledge. Without that, no knowledge is possible. If you say it is all suffering, actually we don't see it that way. If you take a survey, is it all suffering for you? Most people will say, no, it is okay. I'm okay. Nobody will say, I'm in ecstasy. Not many. But most people will say, my life is fine. It's not all suffering. That life is suffering. In the Bible, it is there that if one knew living beings knew what they will be subjected to in their life, they would choose not to be born. So that clarity we don't have. That's what Krishna is saying. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. He says later, etad jnanam iti proktam, ajnanam yadato anyatha. If you realize that there is great suffering in life and I have to overcome it through bhakti, through jnana, through dhyana, through seva, that is jnana. Already you have that knowledge has started. And ajnanam yadato anyatha. Those who don't think in this way, Krishna says they are ajnanis. Those who think I am fine in this world, I don't need all this, they are ajnani, Krishna says. Good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hariyaman Swamiji. My name is Michael Teo, and I beg to complete a request for Swamiji's kind affirmation on a few statements in reference to the incomprehensible absolute. Please allow me to restate some of these statements mentioned yesterday.
No, you can just make a precise question because we have really run out of time.
Okay. This is the last conclusion paragraph which I missed out yesterday. The absolute is just isness.
The absolute is just isness.
Empty of name.
And?
Empty of name.
Empty of name.
Unnameable. There is no I in the I am, and Sat alone is. It is this that the Upanishads point to, which is the finality, the core essence of Advaita Vedanta. What is. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a wonderful statement of the central Advaita thesis, You just wanted to state it. It's a good statement.
Yeah,
it's
I just
the
want
truth.
to get your affirmation that it's not incorrect in Advaita.
No, it's not incorrect. It's a fine statement of just basically Om Tat Sat, what it means. It's a fine statement of that. That's very good. It's very precise. We wanted to ask a question there. That will be the last one.
I'll keep it quick. Namaskar, Swamiji. So you've been mentioning about exhaustion of desires, and someone who's trying to exhaust desires and moving on and evolving for lack.
Can you hold it a little further from here?
Sorry. So someone who is exhausting desires and moving away from desires slowly and gradually, how do you ensure that as a grahastha, you continue to have enthusiasm for the people around you, that they remain motivated to, continue what they want to do without getting too detached or cold, so to speak?
What is the question?
So someone who is, as a grahastha, moving away and from desires slowly and gradually, but people around, maybe the children, the parents, the spouse, etc., all around, who are in that world, and there's a need to exhaust desires, remain motivated. How do you ensure, as the person, to ensure the enthusiasm and the motivation in them without feeling behaving too cold and detached?
Two things. How will you ensure that they remain enthusiastic?
Yeah. And
So-
you continue their motivation levels.
And what?
You continue their motivation levels because they need to, exhaust. You made a statement yesterday, the children, let them continue what they want to do. Let them exhaust their desires. Let them chase what they want to chase.
A lot of the words are becoming jumbled up. I think the distance is creating that. or
You
something.
said, let the children.
Yeah, okay, I
chase
understand.
what they want.
So, 2 points, just 2 points here I'll mention. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita this point, Yad yad acharati shreshta, as the superior one, as the spiritual seeker, as the advanced spiritual seeker, as you behave, others will imitate you. So, Krishna's advice is, if there are spiritual seekers, encourage them. If they are materialistic or at that stage in life, they need to go through material experience. They need to study and get a job and start a family, all of that. Then Krishna says, behave as ordinary people do. As everyone else does, just behave in a very normal way. Don't try to be extraordinary, don't try to be abnormal in any way. And Joshayat Sarva Karmani, encourage people in all dharmic ways, not adharmic ways. Encourage people to do whatever is good for them, what will lead to their progress. And show by your own example. If you have a job, turn up for the job at the right time. Do more than is asked for you. That's a sign of enlightenment. Don't drop out of your job or college. What happened? I become enlightened. No. Continue to do that as you were doing it, but not for any worldly goals. You don't have any worldly goals anymore. Doing it becomes manifestation of your inner realization. And it's a blessing to the others. Na buddhi bhedam janayet. He says, Krishna says very clearly, do not confuse the masses. I am Brahman. There is no need to do any work. Sit quietly and be absorbed in samadhi. Krishna has said that. You will ruin people. If people take you seriously, they will try to follow you and you will harm them. If they don't take you seriously, they'll think you are cracked. So, yes, outwardly try to be as ordinary as possible. That's a very... All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Namaste and Sashtang Pranam Swamiji. So often when I have read the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, there are many instances when, he feels immense pain towards the sufferings of human race and the humanity. But as per my little understanding of Advaita Vedanta, I feel that suffering is a projection of Maya or something which is caused due to avidya. Then why did a realized and enlightened soul like Swami Vivekananda felt immense pain towards the sufferings?
Yes. So sometimes it's good to correct one's understanding by looking at the lives of enlightened people. So when you just said, sufferings of beings are projection of Maya, that seems to be correct theoretically. But notice, no enlightened person ever would say this. Although logically it seems to be right what you are saying. And it's a dream. But have you ever heard Ramana Maharshi or any Advaitic enlightened person also saying, the sufferings of all beings are like dreams, I don't care, I'm enlightened? Never. That means I have to correct my understanding of Advaita by their example. So what is the correct understanding of Advaita in this case? It is not to dismiss as a dream, but to feel oneness. To feel oneness. Even that mithyatva, falsity of the world, it is to establish oneness of Brahman. This division is false, but there is one reality here. If one reality here alone be true, then it is that reality, that Brahman alone, which is appearing to me as the beggar, the homeless man, the sick man, the hungry person, as the uneducated or illiterate person. And my worship should be to feed the hungry, to give medical help to the sick, to provide education to the illiterate, to provide comfort to those who are distressed. Not because they are Jiva, because they are Brahman. And this is a very high spiritual practice, not social service, spiritual practice, Advaitic practice. Sri Ramakrishna said, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. By knowing the Jiva to be Shiva, knowing it, Jnane, then what will happen? If you know something to be Shiva, what will you do? You will worship. How will you worship? If Shiva is appearing as a poor person, hungry person, instead of giving food, will you put arati and then chant mantras? The fellow is hungry. So if he's Shiva to you, you will offer food to the hungry person. So yes, the direct answer to your question is, why would Vivekananda feel pain at the sufferings of all beings if he is enlightened, if he is an Advaitin? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Answer is this, because for him, Advaita is oneness. He feels oneness with everybody. That one Brahman alone is everywhere. That is Advaita. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. I now invite Shri Shirish Johar-ji, President, Malwa Cultural Association, the lead organization of 2023 Gita Jayanti, to deliver the vote of thanks. Amit Khandelwal-ji and Deepika Khandelwal-ji from Malwa Cultural Association will also offer their respectful pranams to Swamiji.
Hare Krishna, Hari Om. A warm welcome to all of you. The blissful journey we embarked upon during the Inspiring Gita Forum has been a soul-nourishing experience. And we owe it all to the presence and contributions of some of the remarkable personalities. Please allow me to express our heartfelt thanks to those who made it possible. First and foremost, we extend our deepest gratitude to the revered Swami Sarvapriyananda ji for gracing us with his profound wisdom through his enlightening lectures. Your teaching has opened our minds to the intense truth of Sanatana Dharma. Thank you, Swamiji. We also want to express our sincere appreciation to the esteemed Swami Samachittananda ji and all the Swamis and supporters from Sri Ramakrishna Mission. Your benign presence has indeed imparted a divine feeling in this forum. Thank you, Swamiji. Our heartfelt thanks to Sri Rajan Krishnan ji, Sri Sengutuvan ji, Sri Rajasekhar ji, and the entire staff of the Hindu Endowment Board, PGP Hall management team, committee, office, and kitchen staff of Sri Perumal Temple. Your support had been instrumental in ensuring a smooth conduct of the International Gita Forum. We acknowledge our MC, Brinda Karnamji, for her impeccable sequencing of the Gita Forum segments and adding her own touch brilliantly. Our gratitude is also due to Padmini ji for setting a perfect tone to the event by her beautiful rendition of invocation prayer. A special word of gratitude to the countless volunteers who have selflessly served and contributed to the success of the event, even though time constraints prevent us from acknowledging each individual. Please note that your efforts have left indelible mark on the success of this event. Our heartfelt thank you for being an integral part of the IGF. Very important word of thanks goes to the Gita Jayanti team and also all the members of Malwa Cultural Association. I myself personally would like to thank the Gita Jayanti organizers for entrusting my young organization with this gigantic task of hosting the Gita Jayanti. Thank you very much. I must say that the Malwa members have been enlightened so much that nowadays, instead of saying hello, we greet each other by saying Hari Om. So, finally, the thank you note can't be complete without a mention of the true pillars of this event. So, it's you, the wonderful audience. Your presence and continued support is the driving force behind the success of the International Gita Forum. The depth of your questions have enriched all of us and deepened our understanding of the philosophies of Gita. So a big thank you to everyone, all of you. And let me remind you that our spiritual journey continues tomorrow at the lower hall with Gita Havan. We eagerly look forward to your participation in creating a divine atmosphere through our collective chanting of Sri Bhagavad Gita. With minds enlightened, let's continue to walk the path of truth and wisdom. Jai Sanatan Dharma.